So today, we're going to dive into a legal rule that honestly is a complete game changer. It was born from tragedy, and it totally rewrote the book on corporate responsibility in India. It's called absolute liability, and it's a fascinating story about how the law has to evolve to protect people, especially when the old rules just don't cut it anymore.
But let's kick things off with a question for you. Just think about this for a second. What if a company, especially one that's dealing with really hazardous stuff, had absolutely zero excuses for causing harm? Like no loopholes, no fine print, no way out if things go wrong and people get hurt. What would that even look like?
Well, it would look exactly like this. This is the heart of absolute liability. And the key phrases here are absolute duty and, this is the big one, no exceptions. See, this isn't about proving who was careless or who was at fault. It's much simpler and much harsher than that. If you run a risky business and someone gets hurt because of it, you are 100% responsible, period. End of story.
But, a rule this powerful doesn't just pop up out of nowhere. To really get why it was so revolutionary, we have to rewind a bit and look at what was there before. An old, kind of flimsy legal idea that was really stretched to its breaking point.
So before absolute liability, India was using a rule called strict liability. It was basically an import, a hand-me-down from a famous English court case way back in the 19th century. And on paper, it sounds okay, right? The idea was, if you keep something dangerous on your land and it gets out and causes trouble, you're on the hook. But the devil was in the details.
And this is where the whole thing just fell apart. Strict liability was full of these loopholes, these giant escape hatches for companies. They could argue it was an act of God, like a freak weather event. Or they could blame someone else, a third party. They could even try to blame the victim. It made the rule a lot less strict than it sounded.
And listen, this wasn't just some legal theory in a textbook. Horrific, real-world disasters, especially the Bhopal gas leak, laid bare just how useless this old English rule was for a rapidly industrializing India. People were suffering, and the law just had no real answer for them. Something had to give.
Okay, check this out. This comparison right here is the aha moment. On the left, you've got the old strict liability, full of exceptions, limited payouts. But on the right, that's absolute liability. It's an Indian innovation. And look at that second row in bold, no exceptions allowed. And the damages? They weren't some small fixed amount anymore. They were based on the company's size and its ability to pay. That is a massive, massive shift.
So what was the final straw? What was the one event that forced the Supreme Court's hand and became the real catalyst for this change? It actually wasn't Bhopal, but another crisis that came right after it.
So picture this. It's December 1985, just a year after the Bhopal disaster. A toxic gas, oleum, leaks from a plant right in the middle of Delhi. People died, and many more were seriously hurt. But this time, an activist named MC Mehta filed a case directly with the Supreme Court, basically handing them the opportunity to draw a new line in the sand.
And this is the line they drew. This quote from the court's decision is everything. An absolute and non-delegable duty. That part, non-delegable, is so important. It means the company can't pawn off the responsibility. They can't say, oh, our contractor messed up. Nope, the buck stops with them. This was the moment absolute liability was truly born.
Now, the court didn't just invent this rule out of thin air. There was some really clear and powerful logic behind making such a bold move. It was all built on a few key common sense principles.
Really, their whole argument rested on these 5 pillars. First and foremost, this was about protecting the fundamental right to life. Second, it was about social justice, making sure the companies creating the risk bore the burden, not innocent citizens. Third was the deep pocket theory, which is just a practical way of saying the massive corporation is in a much better position to pay for the damage than the victims are. Fourth, if you profit from a risky business, you have to accept the costs when it goes wrong. And finally, number 5, deterrence. This sent a crystal clear message to every other industry out there. Get your safety standards to the absolute highest level or else. And the impact of this one case? Oh, it was huge. It went way beyond just this one company. It created a powerful, lasting legal legacy, a brand new shield to protect both people and the environment. I mean, this doctrine really did reshape India's legal landscape. It put corporations on notice and became a super powerful weapon in the fight for environmental protection. It's been used time and time again in pollution cases ever since. And you know what's really cool? It's now recognized all over the world as a major landmark contribution from India's courts to global law.
So when you strip away all the legal language and the history, what are you left with? It boils down to one core idea that's just so simple, but also incredibly powerful.
This is it. This is the whole idea in a nutshell. The people who create the risk and who profit from it have to be the ones to bear the consequences when it all goes wrong. No excuses, no exceptions.
And that kind of leaves us with a bigger thought, doesn't it? This rule was forged in an age of chemical plants and factories. But today, we're dealing with AI, genetic engineering, all sorts of new, powerful technologies. And this question is more relevant than ever. How do we as a society strike that all-important balance between pushing for innovation while also demanding absolute accountability? It's a question we all have to grapple with.